What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's going on, Coach Dan at Lions Talk Live and the Duke Crew? This is Ball Hawk Ifeatu Melifonwu of the Detroit Lions. Everybody make sure you help support the YouTube channel Lions Talk Live by clicking that like and subscribe button. Let's get it and go Detroit.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live and Coach Dan by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you all for joining us here today. Lions Talk Live, Thursday show edition, and you know what? We got a little bit of a topic here today. We all get it, man. It's that time of the year. You're about 3 months before the NFL draft. You got it, whatever it is, 5 weeks until NFL free agency. This time of year, hey, we all get all sorts of speculations, rumors, guesses. What's going to happen here? We're going to get 50 billion mock drafts. I get everybody loves mock drafts. I try, or at least this season, I'm trying to have less of them. Every once in a while, sure, just less of them. But while we're all going to go through that for the foreseeable future, as we get closer to that, we are going to also get reports from different teams, different organizations that potentially they're looking to trade this guy. Potentially they're open to offers to that guy. Why do teams do that? Well, that's easy. Drive the price up on that prospective player. And if they get to a level of interest from a particular team who's willing to pay said price, hey, somebody once told me everybody's got a price, said Ted DiBiase, so we'll see if indeed, as we talked during the main topic of the day about Myles Garrett, who apparently has begun some negotiations to some extent with the Cleveland Browns about potentially being traded. All right, before we get into that, before we get into 5 glorious headlines now, etc., if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Making that push to get to 13,100. So if you can help out with that, that would be most welcome and great. And we're roughly 70 subs away from that if you are able to help out. Also, if you have a free moment of time, reach on down. Doesn't cost a dime. Hit the thumbs up button, the like button, the share button, all those buttons. They help the channel out exponentially. So we try to get every show between 200, 300, 400 or more thumbs up or likes. So if you got a half a second, please consider doing so. With all that said and done, we got one last thing to throw at you. If you are considering buying or selling property anywhere in the continental United States, let alone the state of Michigan where I reside, give me a call or shoot me a text. You see the number on the screen, 269-998-2384. You have a conversation, see what we can do to save you some time, some money, some effort, and just make the process a whole lot easier. Go ahead and reach out to me. If you're outside of Michigan, I can still help you. Just got to do some things a little bit differently. All right, with all that said and done out of the way, let's go ahead and get over to the first segment of the day, and that is, as you know, 5 headlines now. All right, 5 glorious headlines coming your way. Also, I probably am remiss if I don't say this, so I should probably go ahead and do that. If you guys are not aware, I guess from my understanding, about an hour and a half ago, there was a American Airlines flight in D.C. that crashed into a helicopter. I do not know the full details. I just know that they are looking for survivors, etc. Thoughts and prayers for all those affected by it. And if you have a free moment, maybe bow your head and say a little prayer for those people on both the helicopter and the plane. All right, moving on from that, let's go ahead and get into it. Lions Super Bowl champion cornerback predicted to cut ties with Detroit for Jaguars. The Sporting News story by Ryan O'Leary with this one. We get it. Lions do have some free agents that are players of interest for multiple different teams. This particular one, it would be Carlton Davis III. He is predicted to potentially go to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I get it. The Jaguars, they feel like they can win a little bit faster than some other teams in a rebuild. Carlton Davis, he is listed, just so you guys know, as one of the top free agent cornerbacks out there this year. Could he move on from Detroit? Hey, we talked about everybody's got a price. It's probably a lot of it's going to come down to his price. He played, as we all know, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Apparently loves living in Florida too. This would take him back to Florida, so we will see what happens. But he is a coveted player by many NFL teams. We can all say what we want about him as Detroit fans. I know some of you really like him. I personally do. I thought he played great. I would like to see him remain with the Detroit Lions and may more or less take over the Iffy Melifano role. But let's also understand there are teams across this league that are going to try to sign him, as we will find out a little bit more with 5 headlines now. So I hope the Lions keep him, but I also know some people want to move on potentially from him. All right, next to the 5 headlines now. Aaron Glenn poaches Lions assistant for Jets and may take other. The heavy story by Daira Shama with this one, and I'm probably killing that name, so apologies for that. But Aaron Glenn, we all get it. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. We talked about it during this week. Hey, he's got to worry about the Jets now. He's not worried about the Detroit Lions, and some Lions coaches may indeed jump ship over there. One has already done it, and that is the Jets agreed to terms with Lions tight end coach Steve Hayden as their new offensive line coach per multiple sources. This is coming from Tom Pelissero. Most of you guys know Tom Pelissero. He's an NFL insider, has been for a long time. Tom Pelissero does go on and state that the Jets and Tanner Ekstrand are also continuing negotiations to bring him over as the offensive coordinator for the New York Jets. Aaron Glenn is trying to build his own version of the greatest show on Detroit turf, or whatever you want to call it here in Detroit, and he understands that Tanner Ekstrand has been developed, understudied Ben Johnson the last few years. Yes, we already got into the topic. I'm not going to do a deep dive on it, but I also get why Aaron Glenn would want to do that. If Ekstrand does come over, it is rumored or suggested, however you want to term it, that there will be other Lions coaches heading on over as a part of that move. So wait and see what shakes out. All right, getting out of the next of the 5 headlines now. Former Detroit Lions quarterback becoming rising coaching star. SI.com story by John Macron. And hey, who would have ever thought that David Blau, and you know what? I'm even pull this up on the screen. Hold on a second. Let me go ahead and see if I can do it. Boom, boom, boom. Yes, that David Blau. He is becoming one of the hottest coaching candidates in the NFL. I wouldn't have thought it, but with what happened in Washington this year, we all get it. Hey, David Blau did a pretty good job in his first coaching tenure. He's 29 years old. Gave a lot of attention and getting a lot of praise for what the Commanders did this year with their rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels. So that is drawing a lot of teams over to him. Could it be that David Blau actually does land an OC job, or continue to elevate his coaching career at an expedited rate? I think it does happen, because you know what? When you have success doing one thing, people want to grab that thing and try to hope that it can replicate. I do think he's probably going to elevate his career this offseason. Where he goes, I don't know. It's probably not going to be Detroit, though. All right, 4 Lions who could lead Detroit to follow Aaron Glenn. Fan sign story by Richard Lewis, and not the comedian Richard Lewis, by the way. I do think we're all going to agree these 4 particular Lions are going to be people of interest. So what do we have in this story? Well, it is rumored that Aaron Glenn is already, and we talked about this yesterday's show, but it's now expanded to Levi Onwuzurike. He's a person that I do think the Lions should look to re-sign. I also get why Aaron Glenn is going to want him. I also get why other NFL teams are going to want him. Let's not forget that he finished with 45 total pressures, 29 quarterback hurries, 13 quarterback hits. The Jets will be looking for some interior defensive line help to go behind Quentin Williams. Could it be that Williams, who is a 3-time Pro Bowler, is not what he once was? Maybe he's losing a step here or there. That I don't know. Somebody who probably watched the Jets more than that, or more than I do, can probably answer that one. But Onwuzurike really elevated his game this year. I think if you can keep him in Detroit, you should. If not, you are going to see other teams try to get him, because he is so athletic. He is so fast. He can play the big end. He can play DTI. Whatever you're going to do with him, he is multifaceted, and I do think that Aaron Glenn is going to try to get him. The next person that is being suggested in this article that Aaron Glenn is going to try to take is Derek Barnes. Barnes, hey, final year of his rookie 4-year contract, poised as a standout season for him, but did get a little bit short with he tore his PCL and MCL. Nearly came back this season, got close. Maybe he could have came back. The Lions went a little further in the playoffs. We'll never know at this point. But we can all agree Barnes had, in his time in Detroit, 205 total tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 8 quarterback hits, 4 sacks. Is he an elite level player? No. But did he clearly develop every single year? Yes. And his play recognition is really something that grew over time. I get why teams are going to want to sign him. What kind of price tag will he have coming off an injury? Probably a little bit more team friendly for Detroit if they do go to resign him. But if Aaron Glenn or somebody else is going to overpay, probably let him go. We'll see what happens in time. Third one on the list, no surprise here, Ife Melifonwu. When healthy, Ife Melifonwu is not elite, but he's not far off it either. If you want to give him a rating like 1 out of 10, 9 or above is usually my thing where I say that's an elite player. He's probably around an 8. He's very flexible. He can play either safety. He can play man. He can play zone. He can play cornerback. Heck, in the Lions system or Aaron Glenn's system, he even played some linebacker. So the fact that he's that flexible in what you can do with him probably speaks volumes about his value and as a free agent. Again, sort of like with Levi or Derek Barnes, the downside to all 3 of these guys is the injury history. If he, not this past season that just ended, but the season prior, we all could see his abilities when he got out there. And I want to say he was out there like 8, 9 games towards the end of the season. Really a game changer for the defense, made some big plays. What do you do with Detroit? I think he's the biggest burning question this offseason. Me, myself, and I would move on from him. Like I said earlier, with CD3, I re-sign him, put him in that role. Doesn't mean neither one of them are going to be hurt, though. The next player being targeted, just like we're talking about in another headline for today's show, is going to be Carlton Davis III. He is listed as one of the top cornerbacks in this year's free agent class. I think most people are trying to lay out the numbers on everything, have him as either number 2 or number 3 cornerback available. That's going to drive his price tag up. He is 28 years old, but in 13 games, the Auburn product this year finished with 56 total tackles, 11 pass deflections, 2 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, and according to Pro Football Focus, he logged a 74.5 overall grade, 29th among the 223 eligible corners, and a 72.1 coverage grade, 39th amongst 223 eligible corners. There's a pathway for the 28-year-old to resign a 1 or 2 year deal, either with the Lions or the Jets. The bet's out there right now. I'll leave that to you guys to see where he goes. But there are multiple suitors waiting for Carlton Davis on the open market. As we all know, there's just not enough good coverage corners out there in the NFL right now. So if you have an opportunity to get him, you're probably going to go for him. Will he end up a Jet? Will he end up a Lion? Will he end up a Jaguar? I guess we'll have to wait and see. If you guys want him back, though, if you want any of these guys back, let me know in the comments section, obviously, below. All right, in the last of the 5 glorious headlines now, Lions find perfect Aiden Hudson running mate in NFL draft prediction. ESPN story by Joseph Grassano. Sorry if I'm killing that one. I probably am with this one. Now, who is it they predict is going to be the best player available for the Lions in the first round? Somebody I don't know yet a lot about, but that would be Mikael Williams, the defensive end out of Georgia. Now, for those who don't know, he's listed anywhere from 6'5" to 6'6", roughly 260 to 270 pounds. Again, a lot of it kind of depends on where you look for him. But I do like the kid. I think he's got some real ability, some real panache. He seems to have the right personality traits. From what I've seen, and again, it's very limited at this point. His suggested 40-yard dash time is 4.65. That's not too bad. His height, at that kind of size, he's definitely in the running for one of the bigger ends, not the biggest end. There are some 6'7", 6'8" guys out there. I think he's going to be a player of interest, and most draft boards, for those that don't know, at the defensive end spot, Abdullah Carter is typically considered the prize defensive end out there. We would have to give up quite a bit, I think, to go get him. Princely is number 2, and then James Pierce Jr. is number 3. From there, you can move down the list and see where he's at. It really seems to think, or the consensus is, I should say, that he's probably the number 5 or 4 defensive end out there. It is looking like this could be another offensive-heavy draft, which could aid the Detroit Lions in acquiring one of the better defensive ends. Jack Sawyer is another person that is widely rumored to Detroit, along with Mike Green. Mike Green, I would say, if you can move him to linebacker who plays pass rush end, that's where I like him a lot more. He does have a ton of athleticism, but I do think Green's got to put on some weight there. All right, with all that said and done, let's go ahead and get this now moving over to the main topic of the day. All right, and also, this may end up being an hour-long show, but it's probably not going to be, just because I do need to continue to work on some stuff for my team and coaching. We got a big game tomorrow night. It's going to be a tough one. One of the best coached, best developed teams, whatever you want to say. It's going to be a good game. How about that? So I got to work on some stuff for it. All right, let's go ahead and get over to the main topic of the day. Main topic of the day, the Cleveland Plains Dealer yesterday put out a story regarding Myles Garrett. In their opinion, conversations have begun between Cleveland and Myles Garrett about potentially moving on from the star defensive end. I mean, I get it. It's frustrating when you're not winning. And unfortunately for the Cleveland Browns, they've been close a couple times. Yes, they made the playoffs 2 years ago. That didn't go so well with Joe Flacco in the playoffs. I'm not here to break down the Cleveland Browns, but you've got some pretty good talent. Some of that talent is starting to get a little bit long in the tooth. We get it. They're starting to age. And you know what? The Deshaun Watson situation in Cleveland, it's really set that franchise back, unfortunately, probably 5 years. If you really want to argue it, maybe a decade. The Browns need draft capital in order to revive this particular franchise and maybe get something out of some of the guys that still remain. Myles Garrett has expressed his frustration last year, if you guys remember, even kind of mentioned to get what it would be like to be traded or play for a contender. Today's story does not specifically say the Detroit Lions are a team of interest. It does not go out there to say Brad Holmes is trying to acquire this guy. It doesn't suggest that the Lions are going to give up this draft pick or that draft pick and get something in return. I want to be real clear on that. What I am passing on to you guys is Myles Garrett apparently is very open to being traded from the Cleveland Browns. So that does ask the question, should the Lions go for him? Myles Garrett, I think most of us agree, is an impactful defensive end. In my opinion, doesn't have to be your opinion. I think he's probably the best available defensive end potentially on the market. Maybe I shouldn't say available, but he's a pretty dang good one that is rumored to be being traded. So what I'll say is this. I like the guy. I think he's pretty dang good. I think it would cost quite a bit to acquire him. What would you have to give up to get him? Man, that is the $1 million question. I'm not even going to look at the comment section because I'm guessing that's probably already in there. So I'm just using my head here and just saying, hey, he is good. I like him because he's good against the run and the pass. I don't really think you got to change anything you do in regards to him if you were to acquire him. I mean, he's roughly the same size, mass, and everything as Aiden Hutchinson. So if you put him opposite Hutchinson, along with DJ Reader, along with Aleem McNeil, along with whoever you draft, I'm going to guess you're going to keep Zadarius Smith. I'm going to guess Alaquin Muhammad ain't going anywhere. That defensive line starts looking pretty dang impressive, and you've got some guys to rotate. If you can get some of the other guys like Broderick Martin or whatever to develop too, to come in and maybe even resign Levi Onwuzurike, now I think that defensive line looks pretty dang massive for the Detroit Lions, and you know what? It's probably one of the best, if not the best in the NFL, along with the Lions potentially having one of the best, if not the best offensive lines. I think most people would agree, whether you're a coach, a fan, or whatever, you control the lines of scrimmage, you control most NFL games. Doesn't mean you're going to go undefeated, anything like that. But also, CBS Sports says Browns GM says Myles Garrett won't be traded unless, and this is a report out there about a day ago, unless the price is right. Then you've got Sports Illustrated jumping on this too about potential trade partners for them. You got USA Today. We all get it. Browns Wire, fan side. Everybody's got a story about it. Will it happen? I don't know. But I do think it begs the question whether or not, and I know Brad Holmes loves his draft picks. I know he loves this and that and the other thing. I also know this. Last year, before the trade deadline, the Lions did have conversations with the Cleveland Browns. Dave Burkett of the Freep confirmed that. Dave Burkett also confirmed, as you pointed out, I think it was last week or whatever, that the Lions tried to acquire, or at least had conversations with the Raiders about Max Crosby. This tells me that Brad Holmes understands the defensive line is not where it needs to be for the Lions to win. Yes, some of that is because Aiden Hutchinson got hurt. The other part is the Lions need more on the defensive line. Do you roll the dice if you're Brad Holmes and say, hey, we're going to go for one of these proven vets, or do you roll the dice on the draft pick, a free agent? There is no wrong answer here. I am only here to report that, Myles Garrett apparently has spoken to the Cleveland Browns about wanting to be traded. Both sides have talked about it. We'll see where it goes. And again, for the knuckleheads in the comments section that always come after me, I'm not here saying that they are going to trade for him. I'm not here to say, hey, they're going to give up this pick or that pick. I'm simply reporting what's being reported through the Plains Dealer, and that is the Cleveland area newspaper, with people probably sort of like Dave Burkett that cover the team for a living and are there 24/7 doing it. I am also reporting that multiple different outlets are reporting the same thing, that yes, the Cleveland Browns or Myles Garrett have had some conversations about him being traded. Duke Crew, my question to you, what I am saying is, would you go for him? If you were to go for Myles Garrett, what would you give up for him? Remember, what it was last week when we talked about Max Crosby, it was rumored or speculated that the asking price for Max Crosby would probably be a second and a third. I get Pete Carroll's come out and said, we're not trading him. I also get, having covered teams long enough, remember the Herschel Walker trade. Herschel Walker, according to Dallas, was not available to be traded. Guess what happened to Herschel Walker? Pat Swilling was not going to be traded from the New Orleans Saints. Guess what happened to Pat Swilling? And you can go through it, whether you're talking about Jimmy G or whoever else that gets traded. Every team says the same stuff. We're not trading that guy. We're not getting rid of him. Zadarius Smith last year wasn't going to be traded from Cleveland. Well, I got bad news for the people that said, man, their GM said that we're going to trade him. Guess what happened? He got traded, and it will continue to happen because teams, if they don't pull the trigger, they don't want that player to feel alienated. So that's where I go with it. Because if you put it out there, yeah, we're taking offers on this guy. We're absolutely open to business on this guy. And it doesn't happen. Guess what you have? You have a disgruntled player that now thinks you don't want him. And guess what kind of production you're going to get out of them? Not much. All right. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. What would you give up for the kid? Should we do it? Should we go in a different direction? And, if you got any thoughts on the 5 headlines now, we'll go from there. All right, Duke Crew, let me scroll to the top of the screen. Again, we'll try to get about a half hour, 40 minutes in today. Probably can't do a full hour, unfortunately. Jason, let's go. Back at you. Good to see you this morning, Jason. Bo, good morning, Duke Crew. We're on the move. Woo! And I agree with that, my friend. Jason, that would be a disruptive defense. I mean, assuming you get him, and just for the speculation, you got him on one side. You got Hutch on the other. You got DJ. You got Aleem when healthy out there. The linebacking core, yes, you're going to have to add some parts to it if you don't resign Derek Barnes, or I guess, Rodrigo doesn't fill in, or whatever you're going to do there, I guess. The linebacking core, I think, is pretty decent. The secondary, man, if you could somehow get Carlton Davis and to re-sign, I mean, that defense looks pretty legit on paper to me, and potentially add some more to it through free agency or the draft. Jameer, come on over. I concur with you. Good morning, Dew family, and back at you. Hopefully it is a great start to your day. Lance, it says Cleveland talked with him about trading him. Does that mean we could get him? Question mark. I don't know if Holmes does that kind of move. I don't know either, to be fair, Lance. And good to see you, man. It feels like it's been a minute. I just think it's clearly Brad Holmes. If you remember the Montez Sweat trade, he came out and admitted, yes, we talked to Washington. Dave Burkett has reported that, yes, the Lions have talked to multiple different teams last year about trades. It does seem like Brad Holmes does his due diligence by having those conversations. My only fear why it probably wouldn't happen for Detroit is that I just think there are going to be so many teams trying to acquire Myles Garrett that the asking price, just like anything, you get into a bidding war, the price goes one way and it favors the seller, not the buyer. Mike the Marine Gunny, howdy, Dan and Dukru. This is going to be an interesting offseason for sure. Woo! And yeah, I think so. I think you're going to see the Lions make some moves here. It doesn't mean they're going to go all in. It doesn't mean they're going to go skip their picks, but I think they're going to be pretty proactive this offseason. Whether it's trading, whether it's free agency, whether it's the draft, I do suspect they're going to make some pretty good moves. I do suspect there'll be some things that fans won't always agree with. I mean, that's always the case, Rice. We'll see what shakes out at the end. Anymore, good morning, Coach Dan and Duke Crew. What a team. What a podcast. Thank you for that, my friend. What a time to be a Lions fan. Let's go, Dan, exclamation point. Let's go, Brad. Go Lions. Woo! And back at you. Good morning. Stephanie, good morning, boys. Exclamation point. First, thoughts on and prayers for everyone on the plane. Yeah, and the helicopter in D.C. Yeah, 100% there, 100%. Second, there will be a bidding war for Garrett. I doubt Brad Holmes gets into that. Yeah, that's probably where I would say most of us would agree that probably the asking price would be pushed up to the point where I don't foresee Brad Holmes going for it. Now, I've been wrong before in life, and it's at least something to question. Should they add him? Should they overpay to get him, etc.? I really like the guy because I think he's phenomenal against the run and against the pass. Now pairing him with the rest of those players on the defense, I think that defense would be pretty dang scary. Clark, word online is Crosby rumored trade value is the second and third. Do we feel Garrett would be around that more or less? See, I think it would be slightly more, but at the end, it really comes down to how much everybody's willing to pay. Man Bear, prayers, there you go, and agreed. Mike the Marine Gunny, like you said before, do these free agents want that bag or the ring? Ooh, that is a good question. And not that Garrett, I want to be clear, not that he's a free agent, but I think really Cleveland holds all the leverage in this one because if they don't want to trade him, they don't have to. But if they don't get the offer they want, they obviously aren't going to move on from him. So we'll wait and see what shakes. Steve, greetings and salutations to Coach Dan and the Mountain Dew crew. Garrett is the one that I would give up a number one for. I would probably tend to agree with that, Steve, especially if we can get some late round picks in return as well. He can put pressure on the quarterback and set the edge. Yeah, that's where I agree with you, Steve. I think he's phenomenal on both sides, the run game and the pass game defense. Henry Moore, good morning. Stephanie Waller, keep the sunny side up and the rubber side down and be safe out there. Much appreciate all you do. 100% for all that you do, Stephanie. And Henry Moore, well said. Man Bear, good morning, Dan and friends. Back at you. Big Eddie, Stephanie Waller, amen. Also, I prefer Garrett 10 times out of 5 over Crosby. No disrespect. Yeah, I get it, man. They are different players. They have some similarities in their production, but they are different as far as a functional standpoint. Marcus, good morning. Dan, the Duke crew. Exclamation point. I got a feeling that Green Bay is in the process of making a big move. If Garrett is available, the Lions need to jump at this move immediately. It's funny you mentioned that, Marcus, because I do think Green Bay and maybe Minnesota, potentially the Bears, I think all of them, we get it. The NFC North is an arms race right now. All 4 teams are pretty good, and I get the Bears that have a great record. There's a lot of reasons for that, but I think all 4 teams are strong. And I do think it comes down to, would you rather that guy be on your sideline or playing against you? And that's where I think all 4 teams are going to have to make some tough calls this morning. Marcus, good morning, all. Back at you and laughing out loud. Trey, what's going on, Duke crew? Question mark. I do think Brad should try, at the very least, to talk to the Browns about this. Still draft someone. Our D-line needs more. Yeah, I think when we got to the season, yes, injuries changed us, but we just don't have enough on that defensive line to really, when you get to the playoffs, impact teams without overly blitzing and leaving so much isolated coverage in your second half. That's where I think it does become probably a player of interest or a position, maybe that's a better way to word it, of interest for the Lions and their defense. If they're really going to take that defense up another notch, I think most of us agree the offense is pretty dang good. It's just the defense needs more. It made a big jump, I think, this past year, but it needs more. Darcy, Marcus, any trade, in your opinion, would happen just before or during the draft? Yeah, that sounds about right. Darcy, but yes, if Cleveland is moving on from him, we need to try. All you can do is try and see what happens. Marcus, what Lions free agents would you let go to bring Garrett and his big salary, no Diddy, to the team? Remember when we were talking about players going to the Jets? You probably have to, my guess is you probably have to let most of those guys go in order to now bring on Garrett and his salary. And to be fair, his deal isn't that extraneous. It isn't that over the top, and it's going to get better with every year that goes by. But you're probably sacrificing, if I had to guess, 3 of your free agents to bring in him. So there's the question. Would you rather have one Myles Garrett, or would you rather have, Levi Onwuzurike, Ife Melifanu, Derek Barnes, I guess. All right, France, so let's play this out. Everyone, say we add Garrett. Can we still add one free agent player and one impact draftee? Who should we target? Well, if you get Garnett, I think most of us agree he's an impactful player, and you probably don't need anything big on the defensive line unless you're going to add maybe some lower value free agents for depth, maybe some draft picks. If you keep your first round pick or whatever, we'll see what shakes out there. As far as free agent players, I would assume you're mostly looking for depth on defense, maybe another wide receiver, and then you can just draft everything else. Remember, the Lions already have 51 guys under contract, so there's not a ton of room probably on next year's team. So you can be very selective with who you go after from here on out. Susan, good morning, all. Good morning, Duke Crew family. Keep our own players of interest first. Now bring in a classy vet like Myles, draft more D-line and secondary, maybe a late round, speed receiver. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good plan, especially a receiver that you feel like can come in and really has upside potential. Maybe they just haven't been developed enough or more as much in college. You feel like you can get more out of them by just teaching them coaching techniques. Let's see, Marcus, acquiring Garrett changes a lot. We would, hold on, just had something pop up on my screen, get in front of the comments. We'd probably let CD, Iggy, and Barnes, maybe Zettler walk as free agents. This might be worth it. I mean, myself, and I'd be okay with letting all those guys go if you could get Garrett. But I would want to keep Zettler. I'd find a way there because, man, I still think if you can keep him at one guard and then Mahogany at the other, man, that offensive line is going to be chef's kiss. Paperbag fan, greetings, salutations, Dooku. Are you giving us hope for Garrett? Would be awesome. Yeah, and I want to be real clear. There is nothing in these suggested articles that I've seen that says that Detroit is the place of interest, that Brad Holmes is going for him. Nothing like that. Simply reporting that the Cleveland Plain Dealer has reported that talks between Garrett and the Cleveland Browns have taken place about potentially moving on from him. There's a couple other sites, like I said, USA Today and whoever else, CBS Sports reporting it. There are some that's saying, hey, Cleveland's come out and said, no chance of us trading him. But again, like I pointed out before, look at every trade in the last, gajillion years in the NFL. Everybody comes out and says, we're not trading this person until they do. All right, let's see. Five Fingers Freddy, good morning, all. Holmes won't go for it. He's a draft builder, not a Trader Jack. And Trader Jack McCloskey, yeah. We'll see what happens, man. I mean, would it be different, Five Fingers, from Holmes' norm? Yeah, probably. But then again, during the season, the last few years, before the trade deadline, he has tried to acquire some people. He's come out and admitted it. Dave Perkett has confirmed who those players were because Brad Holmes doesn't confirm it. Marcus would probably cut Zadarius Smith if we made this trade. I don't know. I want to say, don't hold me to it. I don't have it in front of me, but I want to say Z Money's contract is like less than $6 million next year. So that's not bad. Plus, you're going to want some depth to rotate players. Could it be that they move on from him? I'm sure maybe he's got to take a little less, give up some of his contract in order to stay. We'll wait and see what shakes. Quentin, greetings, salutations. I don't care how we build, make the team better. We've got our chance to win. Myles Garrett is a dog. Yeah, I would agree with that. He's a game changer, a plan wrecker. And if you have two of those on your defensive line at edge, and then one, I would say, man, if you can put three game changers on that defensive line, and again, as long as you're rotating them to not overly wear them down, keep them healthy, I really like that scenario. Moonscar, good morning. Duke Crew, fantastic fanatics. Myles Garrett would be an incredible addition. I agree with you there fully, man. 1,000%. Myself, and I, this is probably why I'm not a GM anymore. I'm going to go for it now. I'm going to figure out the rest later. That would be my mantra with it. Jake N., don't get your hopes up on Myles. A lot of teams need edge rushers. I think you're spot on with that, Jake. I think you'd win if teams are already talking to Cleveland about it. The price is only going to go one way. So I don't remember who said it earlier in the comment section, about Max Crosby being a second and third. Do you think that would happen with Garrett? Probably not. I think the price is going to get pushed up. Remember when the Washington Commanders traded, what's his name? Montez Sweat. And I remember I came on and said, hey, I've got sources telling me they're looking for a third. And I want to say it was like a fifth for him. Don't hold me to that. It's been a couple years, but that sounds about right. And then I remember everybody threw stones in my windshields, metaphorically speaking, because you went for a second round pick. Well, guess what happened? Probably 4 or 5 teams got involved in those trade conversations. Yes, Detroit confirmed they were one of them. Dave Burkett confirmed, and Detroit said we would try to trade for a player of interest for our defensive line. But because all those teams went for it, the price went which way. And no disrespect to Chicago or Washington, but a second-round pick from the Bears that year was worth a whole lot more than a third-round pick from the Detroit Lions, because the third-round pick from the Lions was almost a fourth-rounder. Let's see. So small. Morning all. Hit that like and subscribe buttons. Thank you for that. Then hit the XCS button on the trade. I'll go ahead and do just that, my friend. Marcus, if we don't trade for him, I have a feeling Green Bay will. Yeah, and it does sound like Green Bay is going to be active this season. You're getting a lot of reports of them trying to go for, Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, probably other players I'm not aware of, but hey, they want to get better, and they understand right now they may be the third or fourth best team in the NFC North here today. The only way to get better is obviously get better players. Oscar, I'd give them this year's first and next year's third, not going to draft a better player, ready to go at 28. Yeah, that could be where we go. In your scenario, if we give up the first and the third, I'm going to ask, all right, we'll do that, but I want your sixth. Maybe I have to settle for the seventh next year just so we keep the same amount of draft picks. And again, you get some, good, young, cheap contracts on the books. Voltron Force, I think you are right, Jake, and everybody is going to be in play for him. That's going to drive the price up. Yeah, I think most of us agree with that. Don Burt, here we go. Lying season has begun. You're 100% right, man. Everybody's going to be lying about, hey, we're going to trade this guy, not going to trade this guy. You're going to be more correct. We are about hear about Barry Sanders coming out of retirement. It's that time. Yeah, 100%, man. Everything's going to be speculated on. But let's also keep in mind, teams do a lot of misdirection. So I think you're spot on with that, Donnie. Let's see, Moonscar. I'll throw in Hendon Hooker also. Give us back a fifth. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Scott, won't hold my breath, but dang, this would be awesome. Yeah, I would say to me, it feels like a very non-Brad Holmes move. But could he kick the tires? Could something work out? There was obviously last year before the trade deadline, we all get it. The Lions and Browns had a lot of conversations. The Browns clearly wanted Hendon Hooker, and no, the Lions wouldn't give him up. If I remember all the facts and stuff right, but it's been several months, so don't hold it to me. Could the Browns really still want Hendon Hooker? If they wanted him then, I guess why wouldn't you want him now? All right, tears, no fears, Lionel. Greetings, salutations, coach and Duke crew, exclamation point. Goff said he got hit so hard he thought he bit his tongue off for DC crash casualties. Yeah, prayers for the DC crash casualties. Yeah, I hope they find some people, alive, obviously with a mid-air collision. Ugh, man, there's going to be a lot of people. Oh boy, I'm not. I'm going to keep positive for everybody this morning. Lying season, yeah, lying season. I get where Don's going with it, man. Yeah, every team lying to each other about stuff, so I get that, man. Stop acting brand new. Yeah, no, I don't think Don's acting brand new. I think what Don is saying is it's the season. Everybody's playing chess and checkers, whatever you want to say. Everybody's trying to move things on the board. JK, let's see, crash, helicopter, explosion, Hopefully everybody. Wishing everybody well. Hopefully things work out. Dave, laughing out loud. Someone sounds like they have a case of the Mondays. It happens, man. Maybe they haven't had their Mountain Dew yet. Drew, good morning, Coach Dan and the Duke crew. Back at you. Paperback fan, Moonscar. I like that trade offer. Me too, man. I would take that in a heartbeat. Stephanie, laughing out loud, Dave Bing. Yeah, 100%. No, Don Pat Rock, like I said, lying season between now, May, everybody and their mama will have some stud being traded to Detroit. Wake up. Yeah, 100%. It won't just be Detroit. Like, Don's saying, it'll be across the NFL. Everybody's trying to play poker with every other GM right now because it only helps them out. Like we're just saying, you want to drive the price up. You want to get the most in return, etc. I totally get it, man. Oscar, sure it won't happen. Not with us anyways. Could be not. Robert, greetings and salutations. Same to you. Mark, very interesting to hear what the thumbnail is about. And now you know, or at least I'm assuming so. Let's see. Michael, Hutch shaking his head at some of these changes the team has made so far. I'd bet. We'll see. I'm not 100%. Gun guy, take your pants off. I'll leave that to you. France, Don Burr, I get that. But this doesn't say Detroit is trading for him, only that Browns have talked to Garrett about trading him. Okay, that's true. Don Burr, Super Bowl or bust, 100%. Good to see you, my friend, as always. Rob, greetings and salutations, Coach Dan of the Duke. The Lions are the grooviest. That deal. I'll go with that. Hello, chat, says Raider Goldheart, and back at you. The Trim Reaper, good morning, Coach and Duke crew. Woo! Back at you, Rob. I'm mock drafts. Okay, there you go. And I do need to put one out. You know what? I'll do it this weekend. I'll do a video one that I'll present to you guys, and then we'll set up a date for the first interactive of the season mock draft for the Duke Crew, where everybody gets to say and who gets drafted. Josh, good morning, everyone. Back at you, Josh. Hopefully it's a great day for you. Don, we know that France, especially if you're been a Lions fan as long as me, your guts should be used to hearing these speculations. Yeah, it's part of it, man. It's unavoidable. I personally think the Browns will trade him. That's my belief. I don't think it's going to be Detroit because I don't think Detroit's going to give up enough to get him. I think somebody else who's a little bit more desperate, just have a different mindset at GM, will do it. Now, if the Lions can get him on the cheap, there's no other offers, then they're in play. And unless the Browns really just want Hendon Hooker or somebody else from Detroit, that's the stuff I can't answer. Keith, good morning. Good morning, exclamation point, and greetings and salutations. Dan and everyone, back at you, my friend. Go Lions all the way to the Super Bowl. Woo! And back at you. Don, Kurt Steele, what up, Duke Crew? What up, Man of Steel? How you doing? Moonscar, it happened last night about 9. Okay, last night. My bad. I thought it happened this morning. So thoughts and prayers to all. So, Michael, just don't take the 15-2 team and dismantle it like they're done. However, it is a business. It is a business. Yeah, I'm gonna guess they're gonna make some right moves for the team. What those moves are, that's the beautiful part about the offseason. We'll all sit here and speculate, we should have done this, we should have done that, we should do this. Hey, glad we done that. All right, JK, thoughts and prayers indeed, 100%. Facts in 60 seconds. Prayer for all those on the flight. Yeah, the flight in the copter. And what I want to know, man, is how that was allowed to happen with air traffic control. But again, I'm not going to go into that in this show. Let's keep things lighthearted here. You guys get enough of that stuff in your regular days, I'm sure. Wayne, Myles Garrett, biggest pipe dream is Stupid's Detroit Pussycats history. Okay, I'll go with that. Let's see, JK, good morning. Let's go, Lions. Brian, good morning. Oh, the airplane crash happened last night about 11. Okay, my bad. When I went to bed or whatever, I at least hadn't heard about it. When I woke up this morning, got inundated with it. Plus, I saw your guys' comments, and I just assumed it happened this morning. So, thank you guys. Wayne, we got Brad Holmes, too stupid to trade for top-tier players that not hit 90% of the time. There are some people that would suggest that he is Dollar General Brad Holmes. Well, I know some of us would hope he's going to move up to target level. So wait and see. Maybe he'll elevate his game. Southwest Line, good morning. All good teams are going to get poached. Yes, 100% there. Whether it's coaches or players, it's just the way things go. This will be a real test for MCDC. But I think he likes the challenges. Yeah, I think it motivates him. Most people that are competitive in nature, whether athlete, business, whatever, they like challenges because they like rising to that occasion. This is an opportunity for MCDC to prove that his thoughts, his way of doing things can really help keep team at the top. So wait and see what he does. And Brad Holmes. Tommy, let's hope free agents that leave get max deals so we can get good comp picks. Ooh, that's some outside-of-the-box thinking. I like it there, Tommy. Wayne, have no faith in Brad's in the brand new, same old Lions team. Fair enough. We need to get you a Mountain Dew this morning, my friend. Get you feeling good. Doc Troy, Brad better do a much better job in free agency, or we need to start to question his program outside of drafting. Yeah, I would agree with you. Troy, Dr. Troy, I think everybody agrees the Lions draft incredibly well. Some of the free agent signings, like you're suggesting, have not been the greatest. And I think that's where the big question becomes on stuff. Emmanuel Mosley, you can say he took a shot on him. It didn't work out. Some of the other guys, Davenport, haven't worked out. Let's see what he does this offseason. JK, Teddy Bridgewater is a high school coach. He can coach in the NFL if he wants to also. Hey, there you go. Maybe he will. Wayne, they finally get rid of bum Sharon Glenn just to promote another lost cause bum in Kelvin Shepherd. Wait and see. I mean, that's the good thing is we haven't seen Kelvin Shepherd yet, so maybe he will rise on up. Don, all these teams, like the Bears, probably won't even have 3 years with that young staff if they win. We got lucky to keep our guys for 4 years. Yeah, we did have a certain amount of luck, and you could even say loyalty. Some of these guys did turn down other coaching opportunities to stay here one more year, but at some point, you can't ask them to stay forever. I get it. They roll the dice, and now they're worried about their families, etc. All right, Southwest Line, ideally, you want to build your talent and depth via the draft and undrafted free agents, but realistically, you can always get it done with just that alone. Yeah, you can do that. We'll see if they do anything in free agency, trades, or whatever. We'll see what they do, but I have a lot of faith in this regime. I think they're going to do right by us. Wayne, brand new, same old results. Well, I mean, the only thing I would say respectfully, Wayne, is if you can name a different time in Lions history where we won 15 games this season, let me know. As far as I'm aware, that's a brand new result that's never happened before. So they're doing something right. Plus, they've won 2 divisional titles for 2 straight years. Is it the Super Bowl? No. But, hey, just the way I'm emotionally wired, I can remember a whole lot of just bad 80s teams. You could even say during the 2000s, 2010s, and early 2020s, wasn't always the greatest. I look at it this way. We had 18 weeks of football this year. I was only disappointed on 3 of them. I'll take that. Myles Garrett, greetings, salutations, coach and crew. Running late but listening. One pride. Hey, good to have you as always, my friend. Southwest Line, I don't fault Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn poaching from the Lions. Everybody else is poaching from everyone else, whether they can find the talent. 100%. That's life. That's the way it is. It goes. Yeah, whether it's business, coaching, whatever. That's nature, I guess you could say. Gun guy, playoffs trash. Same old Lions fans don't like winning records. Yeah, I mean, hey, go with what works for you. My way of thinking doesn't have to be your way of thinking. If at the end of the day you're going to be totally unhappy unless you win the Super Bowl, then you're going to be like 31 other teams and their fan bases 99% of the time. You're not going to win the Super Bowl. The Chiefs, we can all debate why they win. Some of it I'm going to guess is coaching. Some of it is Patrick Mahomes. Some of it may be a financial decision by the NFL. The Lions have a lot of good stuff going for them. Whether or not they're going to win 20 Super Bowls in the next 5 years, I don't know. I'm just happy that we're no longer 0-16, 3-15 or whatever. The fact is, I'm trying to do the math in my head, 96% of the NFL season, the Lions are relevant. I can't say that in much of most of my lifetime, so I'm real happy that I get to actually feel like we have a chance for all but 4% of the season. Thomas, because he's younger, I would rather have Crosby than Garrett. Okay, that could be totally true. Good way to be. Michael, so the Detroit Lions are a breeding ground for talent. Every other team didn't produce when they had their chance to get it. Could be, but you know what? That's what good teams do. They develop talent for players, coaches, etc. Teams that can't do that want to poach some of yours. Brian, I'd love Barnes to stay. One of my favorite guys. Hopefully he does then for you, man. Don Burr, Southwest Line, I get the poaching guys, but the harsh reality is 70% of these guys probably won't work elsewhere. CJ Garner went back to Philly, and he's back to playing at a high level. Yeah. Sometimes there's a lot of truth to that, Don. Some players play better in certain scenarios, systems, than they do others. And that's something I learned in coaching a long time ago, and it's regardless of the sport. There are very few players that no matter what system or setup you put them in, they're successful. And if you look around the league, guys that get traded, you want to know why, man, people go back and go, man, that trade just didn't work out. It's because they aren't in the same system or have the same cast around them. Thomas, dump if he keep CD3, that's probably where I would go. Paul, we're not the only one that wants Davis. We need him back. Yeah, I like the guy, and especially if you have him in a kind of the star position that if he played, I think he would do real well. William, why is everyone wanting to get rid of Z Smith? He did good. Yeah, I like him, especially at his price tag. So I'm with you on that, William. Southwest, Donberg, exactly. Not going to guarantee that players who play well on one team will play well on the other. Yeah, I agree with both of you. Mootsguard, Don Burr, Southwest Land, agree 100%. Southwest, William, let's see, Daniel Smith was productive even without Hutch and McNeil on the line. It would be the dumbest thing ever in the world to cut him. Yeah, and I think if you can free him up as far as Darius Smith by having more attention to Aleem or Aiden Hutchinson or whoever else, that's going to help him out. Keith Garrett on our D line would be awesome. Exclamation point. Hutch and Garrett would be the ends. DJ and McNeil in the middle. QBs would be having nightmares. Lions will be dreaming about the Super Bowls and a 14-3 season. Woo! I'll go with that. Coach Rock, good morning. All AG starting to get on my crumb list, and I wasn't a really big fan of him over the years anyways. So good luck in his swiveling door in New York. Yeah. I mean, we talked about it yesterday, Coach. You get it. You're hired to be fired. And both him and Ben Johnson, the sand is already leaving the hourglass because you know what? The honeymoon's already over. You get your first loss or two or three or whatever they get next year, you're going to have fans start turning on you. We get it. That's part of coaching. Southwest, I hope both our new coordinators are open and minded enough to incorporate wrinkles from other teams that could work with their personnel we have in Detroit? Yeah, probably. JK, I thought Brad was a villain. When is he going to poach key players? We'll find out. Art, a lot of speculation on who will stay and who will go. When will we know for sure? Once somebody signs with either Detroit or wherever they're going to go, that's when you'll know officially if they're staying or going. Unfortunately, I don't see anything sooner than that, Art. All right, come on, Dan, pull a Ben Johnson hour half show. Your team doesn't need your coaching like the Lions. Yeah, I can't do that to my team, man. It's just not part of who I am. I mean, yesterday alone, I probably watched about 4 hours of video. That's probably about 3 hours more than normal. And it's out of respect for the team we're going to play. They're very well coached. They're a great run team. They've got a lot of skills. And, hey, I want to try to help. I want to, at the end of the day as a coach, I don't ever want to feel like I could have done more. That was no different as a player, no different anything. Whatever job I have, I don't ever want to look and say, hey, I know I could have done more. It's just not me, man. Moonscar, yeah, Mike Green is 6'3" and 243 pounds, not an NFL defense fan. Yeah, I agree with that. And played few relevant opponents at Marshall. Just another James Houston and not a first-round pick. When is he being where is he being projected? Yeah, he is being projected as a first-round pick. I personally think he's a good second-round pick, but I don't know anything about his linebacker skills. I haven't done anything with him. I don't know if he can play standing or whatever. But if you could get him to do some of that and basically assume the Derek Barnes role, now I think you got a player of interest. Although, again, I don't know if I would draft him in the first round. JK thought, let's see, Detroit Lions bad guy, thought I heard somewhere that Cleveland's coach and GM said Myles Garrett is not leaving. He would not let it happen. Again, I know I pointed this out earlier. Name the last time a GM came out and said, we're trading you before you got traded. It just doesn't happen. The coaches don't do it either. Because, again, if you don't pull off that trade, guess what you now said to that player? We want to get rid of you. We couldn't get rid of you. And, man, we really need you to step up your game now. That's why everybody says the same stuff, man. Rocky would give up a couple of first-rounders for Garrett. There are going to be like second-round picks anyways. He's a good player, and the draft won't give you a better player at that point in the draft. Yeah, I would agree with you. We'll see what shakes. Let's see. Up North Lion, greetings, salutations, Duke Crew. Exclamation point. Garrett would be a huge improvement. I would take over Crosby. However, he would cost more than Crosby if it's a number one and a swap of fourth and fifths and renegotiate his contract. Could be. That is what play out. Gun guy, Hooker, and a first for Garrett. Okay. Avery T. What was Aiden Hutchinson's 40 time? Man, I do not know off the top of my noggin. I want to say, don't hold me this like 4.6. Chad, I say let Hooker go and draft a new mobile quarterback, please. All right. Hooker's pretty mobile, but yeah, I get maybe somebody different is what you want. All right. Just got to pop up about the flight, so sorry about that, guys. All right, Chad, good morning, Coach Dan, awesome Duke Crew. Woo! Appreciate you, Dan. Appreciate you being here, man. So it's symbiotic relationship. Detroit Lions bad guy is Myles Garrett, the Reggie White situation from back in the day. The Lions missed out on because Mike Holmgren called Green Bay and said, Reggie, this is God come to Green Bay in the 2025 season version. Could be, yeah. And hey, kudos for Mike Holmgren for knowing how to get Reggie White to come on over. John, greetings, salutations, Dan, the world famous Duke Crew. Getting Garrett would be great, but the cost would be high. Yeah, it probably would be. And good to see you, John. Rock, he wouldn't have far to move from Cleveland. No, he wouldn't. He'd probably keep his own house if he so desired. Rob, the right answer is blowing in the wind. Okay, I'm down with that. Thomas, Wingo is better than Martin right now. I'm betting Martin will not be here after this year. All right, we'll see what happens. And yeah, I do like Mekhi Wingo's development, etc. Mike the Marine Gunny, according to Over the Cap, Detroit is carrying over $24 million, the fourth highest. New York Jets, $345K, 32nd. I could see the Lions trading with teams that need to clear salary, but not in bidding wars. Yeah, it could be that. But if in your scenario, you're probably spot on there, Gunny. The Lions could absorb some cap from other teams to help them out, but get a more team-friendly deal because of it as far as what they're giving up. Don Kong, 17-0 or bust. I'll take that. William, Dan, so you're saying we are trading for Garrett G? I am not saying that. I'm being very clear about that. Lions bad guy Thomas, everyone is better than Martin right now. My mother, who is in a urine and dead, and dead, and nothing more than ashes better than Martin. I like the guy. I like Martin. I'm being positive, Pete, on him. I think he's going to break out this year. Dr. Detroit, plain and simple, we need that player on the edge. Yes, of course, you go for him. We need that stud player now, not developmental player. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I think you've got a real good a couple years ahead of you. 2026, that's where I think the Lions have to start facing some salary cap concerns potentially. So we'll see what happens. All right, facts in 60 seconds. No Garrett. Okay. Michael, Avery T. Hutch's 40 time in 2022 was okay. I wasn't that far off. 4.74. So now you know. And thank you. Man, knowing is half the battle there, Michael. Dr. Detroit, you pay what you need to pay to get your players. Now anyone saying draft that player's really silly and delusional. Okay. Rob, love Garrett, but we don't need to trade for him. We have Smith and Hutch. So get someone in the draft. It just wouldn't be worth the cost at his age. Okay. Chad, I hope so. Gunny, Rocky, maybe Smith and Garrett are best friends and they want to play together again. Just thinking. Yeah, it could be a contributing factor. Tears, no fears. Pass on Garrett. We have talent to develop. Lightning and Thundercats. Oh, I'll go with that. Exit 8. Good to see you, my friend. It's been a minute since I've seen you. And that Hooker is 27-year-old quarterback that still isn't good enough to be the backup going into the playoffs. You would be lucky to get a 7th-round pick from him. Okay, I'll go with that. Dr. Detroit, yep, Brad does a lot of talking, and then he gets the injured players. Could be that too. Detroit Lions, Dan can talk and do his due diligence all he wants, but until he is ready to pony up draft picks, not going to happen. You have to swing. You can hit a home run. You can't just check your swing. I'm down with that. All right, guys, we've got about 3-4 minutes here, so I'm going to power through here and get people who haven't been on as much. T. Rollins, has Garrett started which destinations of choice are? I do not know. I do not have an answer for you there. Gary, why no one talks about Hendricks from Cincinnati? That's not a bad call either. 15.5 sacks each of the last 2 years. That's not a bad call. And you might be able to get him a little bit cheaper. Okay, Draft Green, he is looking good at the Senior Bowl. Draft him and get Garrett. Rolling 2 lines would be great. Keep the players fresh. Draft some D linemen and linebackers. 14-3, Super Bowl bound. Woo! And I would go with that. Phil, good morning. Back at you, Phil. JK, Myles Garrett. For how much, though? That is the question. Phil, Kirby get to Jets. Branch? Maybe. David, 2026 salary cap is a huge problem. We can't trade for anybody expensive unless we're not going to re-sign our own players. Kirby Joseph would be an example. The guy hardly ever misses a game. There's that fact, too. He is out there a lot. Bruce, green salutations. Give them Hooker plus a second and third. What do you think? I would go for it in a heartbeat. I think you can find another backup quarterback, whether rookie or otherwise. Dr. Detroit, Garrett all day, no question. Make the deal. I'll put in the call. Detroit Lions bad guy, 2025 second and fourth rounder and fourth rounder 2026 first. Okay. Southwest Cleveland Browns GM Knicks is Myles Garrett trade speculation. We want him to retire here. And again, I get that, but I also get that everybody says the same thing, man. You know, every time you find a trade in the NFL, every organization says we're not moving on from this guy, and then all of a sudden they do. All right, Lions blood trade for Garrett, draft linebacker John Campbell from Alabama, and the defense will be legit, maybe too legit to quit. Rob, trader Jack, yes. Adams, maybe. See, Southwest. Who knows? We just have to wait and see. Yeah, at the end of the day, that's all we can do. Phil, this is an edge-heavy draft. It is. Stick with what got you here, okay? JK, isn't Garrett a U of M alum? I don't think so. I think we went to Alabama, but don't hold me to that. All right, James, what are we going to do with Corey and Broderick in the offseason? That will be a good question to find out what was going to happen with both of them this year. Okay, gotcha, says JK. Brian, if we don't get Garrett, I guarantee Green Bay or Chicago will. Green Bay, for the way we have messed them over, the guys they want. Yeah, we have stuck it to them a little bit the last few years. Detroit, Lions bad guy, 39 days until free agency. It is getting here. Detroit, that wasn't in a playoff game. Okay, it was rookie year. Fair enough. Exit 8. If you get Myles Garrett, they will not be able to re-sign their own players. Rookie contracts are relatively cheap. Yes, they are, 100%. Mr. Get Guap, if Dan thinks Kirby will go to the Jets next year, let's trade him and the picks to the Browns for Garrett. That's an idea. I like that idea. If you feel like you absolutely know that you can't re-sign Kirby Joseph, get some from him now and then go acquire something to kind of offset that. That's not a bad idea. Phil, I heard the USA skating team was on that plane. I did hear that as well. Yeah, It is what it is, unfortunately. Dr. Troy, you said it. Dan Cheap, yes, you are correct. Southwest, let's leave the crash alone. Geez, this football chat, not CNN. Yeah, 100%. Okay. Mr. Ed, good morning. I was right about Hooker. No pony clickbait on this show. Thanks, Dan. Anytime, man. Yeah, no worries, man. Good to have you on, as always. Let's see, DM5 TV, we actually have a decent defense to start the year. Brad put a squad together, but the injuries happened, to the key starters. Key backups and backups. To me, Brad did his job. He did. It just, unfortunately, the injuries did happen. Anymore, Wayne watch list is another Brosley. It could be. 313. I'd give a first runner and Danny Rogers for Myles Garrett. Okay, we'll do that. You're going to give up the reporter? Fair enough, 313. Let's go. No, he's a Lions fan, just not all over the changes yet. Yeah, it happens, man. Some people just aren't into it as much. Silent service, as people keep insulting Brad and calling Dollar General, we had Millen, Mayhew, and Patricia. I think he's surpassed them. You're pretty spot on with that silent service. You are right. We did live through a few people who weren't the greatest. Let's see, James, do you think that Aaron Glenn will make a play on getting Aiden Hutchinson from the Lions in exchange for 2 number 1 picks and a 2027 second rounder? Could be, but I would be really surprised if we moved off Aiden Hutchinson unless somehow we thought maybe that injury was going to slow him down the rest of his career, something like that. All right, Thomas, no matter what you hear, my fear still is Hutch is not the same player when he comes back. We better do something there, defensive end, or we're in trouble. Yeah, and I get it. That'll be the question until we see him, excel and do well. Let's see, Chuck E. Cheese. They would be fools to let Z get away. I agree. Dr. Detroit, Dan, I like to watch good football too, and we've gotten to watch some good football. But when you're this close, there's no excuse. You have to go all in, and everybody else does it. Why are we that stubborn? I get it, man. We're that close. I'm going to leave it to them to see what direction they want to go with things, but I want to see us win a Super Bowl. I think we all do, man. Brian, actually think AJ will be a better coach than a coordinator. Not so much for Ben Johnson. I'm down with that. Chuck E. Cheese, you got to win it in free agency. Nothing happens till the season is over. Okay. Yeah, wait until free. Yeah, I got you. I messed that one up. Sorry about that. Pete, trade Hooker and go get Joe Milton. Maybe they do. Carl, just draft Sawyer and forget about it. If we draft a quarterback, take Jackson Dart. Yeah, I know you and others have been talking about Jackson Dart. Silent service, AJ is more than Dan Mold than Ben. Okay. And I agree with you there. Joe Mixon is that good. Let's see, Dave, 4.73 Hutchinson at Combine. Okay, thank you for that, by the way. Moonscar, Hutch 10-yard split was 1.63, more relevant for a defensive end. He was very comparable to Jared Allen. Yes, I'll go with that. Yeah, there's some things that translate more to the 40 time, other things like cone drills or whatever to down linemen. All right, Brent, happy trails, One Pride, back at you. We're going to do happy trails, Duke Crew, One Pride, same to you. Good to see you guys, as always. John, hey, Dan, who do you think the Lions are weakest spots on the team, linebackers and DL? I still think it's defensive line and probably linebackers. Secondary, still needs more depth, I believe. Keitho, this draft is heavy at good defensive players. Yes, it is, and that's a perfect timing for us. Dr. Troy, these people are so nuts talking about we can't afford it. We'll find a way. That's what I would say. Find a way to get it done. Keitho, I like Nate Lynn before he got hurt. Hope the Lions give him another chance. Maybe they will. Hey, apparently the dogs like the idea of Nate Lynn too. They are all over it. Keith, I bring Davenport back to vet minimum. Maybe they will. Keitho, Hudson is staying here in Michigan. I would think so. All right, music. If both were available, would get Crosby or Garrett. I would go for Garrett. Brian, Hooker needs to go. Best show in the galaxy. Thank you for that. Thank you very much for that. Keitho, wouldn't mind trading up and getting Keith Garrett. Grant, is a freak, his size and elite. All right, guys, as you can tell, the dogs are telling me it's time to get off the air, so I will go ahead and get on out of here. If there is breaking news later today, I'll get it to you as soon as possible. If you would be so kind before checking out, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Take care. Enjoy your day. Do something kind for someone you don't know. We'll see you guys all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, all.
Excuse me, sir, would you... Donations to the Reverend Moon? Jews for Jesus?
Read about Jehovah's Witness? How about Buddhism?
Help Jerry's kids? Oh, yeah. Scientology?
Or nuclear power?